and welcome to the presentation on the Year 3 residential trip to High Ashurst in Dorking.
The boys will be going on their residential this year on the 22nd of May, the Thursday, and returning on Friday, the 23rd of May, just in time for half term. The staff who are attending are myself, Miss James, Mrs Campbell, Miss Verheiden and Mr White.
So we will be leaving school on Thursday the 22nd of May and we'll be travelling by coach to Dorking. The route is relatively short, it's only about 45 minutes by coach, and then on the Friday we'll be leaving the centre at around 2:30 p.m. after the boys have had a packed lunch, and we should be back by school by 3:45. If we're running late, we'll let the school office know and they'll send out a message to you all.
So on the first day, once we arrive, we will check in and get familiar with the teepees. We will hopefully also go for a bit of a walk. Then the boys will have a packed lunch, which the school will provide, and after that the activities will commence. On the first day we have just one activity, which is the climbing activity, where the boys will be split into 4 different groups, and then they will move on to having some free time before their evening meal. After their evening meal, we have a session which is instructor-led, where we hope we will end by the campfire, which of course is weather dependent, so fingers crossed. And then that session will end at around 8:30 p.m, where we're hoping the boys will be tired enough to sleep. Then of course the next day we will wake up for breakfast, and breakfast will be followed by 2 more activities, the archery and some team tasks. A packed lunch will then also be provided by High Ashurst before we check out and bring your boys safely back to you.
So on the first day, here is a little bit of additional information about each of the activities that the boys will be participating in. So firstly, we've got climbing, and the session starts with some low level climbing called bouldering or traversing, and it's all about developing the trust between the climber and their supporting partner, who has to spot the climber to make sure they are in contact with the wall. Then in the evening, this session runs from 6:30 till 8:30 p.m. And during that typical evening session, they'll go for a leisurely walk, stroll around the site and learn about all of the history of High Ashurst and discover some interesting facts about the local nature. This will be followed by some fun games to get everyone moving before settling down for the night. We'll then all gather around the cosy campfire, as we've already mentioned, hopefully weather dependent, for a debrief with the instructors to reflect on the day and get ready for what's on the agenda for tomorrow.
The day 2 activities, as I mentioned, are archery, which is new to the boys prep this year, so that's really exciting. The boys last year weren't able to do that. So first of all, we'll obviously start the session with the health and safety, giving them all the rules, letting them know, and explain then how the bow and arrow is used and how to shoot, learning the standing positions and all of those things. Once the group is then clear, they will have a go at the target one by one. They'll shoot 3 arrows and they'll get some top tier coaching from the instructors, and then once they have done a few practice rounds, I do believe that there will be a few competitions and games played between the boys. Then they will switch, so one group will do the archery, one will do the team task, then we will switch over, and the team tasks are all about using that teamwork, their collective knowledge, their inventiveness, communication, and just their general common sense to achieve success in some challenges. These are all adapted so that there are more advanced challenges, there are ways of making them even harder, and then the teams of 10 will be led by an instructor, and it will be kind of problem solving, mental or physical, and sometimes both. And like I say, they'll be adjusted and challenged to each group.
So the meals at High Ashurst. So the boys will be able to enjoy breakfast between 7:30 a.m. and 9 a.m, lunch between 12 and 1, and dinner between 5:30 and 7. And we'll be allocated our specific time slot within those kind of windows when we get there. So if you would like to read a sample menu, please do feel free to pause the video now. And of course, High Ashurst will be aware of any dietary requirements that your child may have in advance.
Again, feel free to pause on this slide if you want to read the full list, but we will also send it out to you nearer the time. But these are the things to pack. Please just make note of any items that you may not have or do not have, but you may need. The boys are always talking about camping, so I know many of you have been camping, so you'll know what to help them pack, but please do be sure to pack additional layers. as you know, camping in May can be incredibly cold and wet, especially overnight. However, we are hoping to be lucky with the weather, so we also encourage you to pack some sun cream and a sun hat. But again, we are also aware that the weather can change rapidly, and therefore a waterproof and a warm coat would also be required, please. Also, sadly, the teepees do not come equipped with anything, so please make sure that your son has packed a sleeping bag, pillow and roll mat, and then also a towel and wash bag. The toilets are fairly remote, so a torch is also required. In addition, we really kindly ask you that there should be no electronic devices like tablets, Kindles, etc. They don't need to bring their school iPad either. However, they are allowed to bring a disposable camera if they would like, but it's not an essential item.
So the boys will be staying in a teepee village, and there are roughly 10 teepees in a village for all the teachers and the children as well. So each teepee village has a blue marquee for activities, socialising and the campfire, and also a large group teepee with seating, mains power, a fridge and a kettle. The teepees sleep up to 10 people, however we're going to be dividing the boys equally. We will give the boys the opportunity to let us know who their preferred teepee buddies are, however they may not necessarily be with all of them. We will ensure that every child is with at least one child that they have listed.
So also, if your son has any additional medication that he needs to take during the trip, it must be provided in the original packaging, and a form will need to be completed before we leave, so that you can explain the doses, etc., so that this can be administered safely. Obviously, everything that they usually have at school, we will have with us anyway.
So we will, of course, make sure that we take lots of great photos of the boys throughout the 2 days while they're away. But please note that our main priority is to keep them safe and have a good time. Therefore, taking photos might not be our top priority. Any photos that we do take, though, we'll share on the school social media platforms. Therefore, please make sure that your photo permission preferences are updated on MIS in advance of the trip.
So we hope you enjoyed the presentation on High Ashurst. Of course, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email us on our email addresses, which are obviously on the slide as well. And thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to our night away camping.
Thanks.